King Vex stood at the massive window of his royal flagship, watching another search vessel return from the outer rim. The ship's lights blinked in a pattern that meant failure. No sign of Princess Nerra. No trace of her diplomatic escort. No answers to the question that had kept him awake for 3 months. The king's 4 arms trembled with barely controlled rage. His crystalline skin, normally a calm blue, flickered with angry red patterns. Behind him, his advisors whispered among themselves, their voices like whined through broken glass. "Your Majesty," General Cork stepped forward, his military decorations gleaming on his chest. "Perhaps we should consider that the princess may be beyond our reach." Vex turned slowly. His eyes, like burning sapphires, fixed on the general. "Are you suggesting my daughter is dead?" "I suggest nothing, my king. I merely state that 3 months is a long time. The neutral zone is dangerous. Pirates, slavers, worse things lurk in those dark spaces between the stars." The king's anger made the air in the command center feel electric. Several younger officers stepped back. Vex had ruled the crystalline dominion for 200 years. He had conquered 12 star systems. His fleets could turn planets to dust. But all that power meant nothing when his only child was missing. Princess Nerra had been traveling to the Proxima station for peace talks with the Andorian Republic. It was supposed to be a simple diplomatic mission. Safe. Routine. Her escort consisted of 3 heavy cruisers and her personal flagship, the Star Crystal. They had entered the neutral zone and simply vanished. The search teams found her ship 2 weeks later, drifting near an uncharted nebula. The Star Crystal was badly damaged. Her engines were cold. Her life support systems had failed. The crew was gone. There was no sign of what had happened or where Princess Nerra might be. "Sir," Communications Officer Zara approached carefully. "We have received reports from the outer colonies. Some traders claim to have seen ships matching our description near the Hollow Moon station." Hollow Moon. Vex knew that place. It was a lawless outpost where criminals gathered. A place where anything could be bought or sold. "Send Admiral Thane with the 5th Fleet. I want that station searched from core to hull plating." "My king," General Cork spoke again. "If we attack Hollow Moon Station, we risk war with the independent worlds. They may be criminals, but they have allies." Vex's crystalline features hardened. "Let them come. I will burn every pirate base in the galaxy if that is what it takes to find my daughter." The search had consumed everything. Vex had sent out hundreds of ships. He had offered rewards that could buy entire planets. He had threatened war against anyone who might be hiding information. The crystalline dominion's resources were being stretched thin, but the king did not care. Princess Nerra was not just his daughter. She was his heir. She was the future of their people. More than that, she was the light of his life. After his queen died in the Plague Wars, Nerra was all he had left of the family he once knew. The princess was brilliant and kind. She spoke 17 languages and could negotiate peace between enemies who had fought for centuries. She was everything a future queen should be. She was also stubborn and brave, sometimes too brave for her own good. "Sir," Officer Zara's voice interrupted his thoughts. "Admiral Thane reports that Hollow Moon Station has been searched completely. No sign of the princess or her crew. Another dead end." Vex felt the weight of despair settling on his shoulders like a heavy cloak. 3 months. Where could she be? What had happened to her? The questions burned in his mind like acid. "Your Majesty," General Cork stepped closer. His voice was gentle now. "Perhaps it is time to consider other options. The princess may have been taken beyond our borders. She could be in Andorian space, or perhaps even in the far territories where humans roam." Humans. Vex's laugh was bitter. "Those primitive creatures barely know how to travel between stars. They are no threat to us." "Not a threat, no. But they are known for their black market activities. They might have purchased the princess from whoever captured her. The idea filled Vex with disgust. Humans were considered one of the lowest species in the galaxy. They had no real technology of their own. They were weak, short-lived, and violent. The thought that his daughter might be in the hands of such creatures made his skin burn with orange fury. If humans have my daughter, Vex said slowly, I will make their entire species regret the day they reached for the stars. Days passed. Then weeks. The search continued, but hope grew thin. Vex found himself standing at the window more often, staring out at the stars and wondering if Nerra was somewhere out there, looking back at the same stars and hoping for rescue. His advisors began to suggest that he name a new heir. The kingdom needed stability. The people needed to know that the royal line would continue. But Vex could not accept it. Not yet. Not while there was still a chance his daughter might be alive. Then came the day that changed everything. Sir. Officer Zara burst into the throne room, her usual calm completely gone. Sir, we have received a transmission. Vex stood so quickly that his throne cracked. From where? Who? The signal is coming from the edge of our space, near the Meridian system. Your Majesty, it's the princess. It's Princess Nerra. The king's world stopped. For a moment, he could not breathe. Could not think. Could not do anything but stare at the communications officer. Play it, he whispered. The room filled with static, then cleared. A voice came through the speakers. A voice Vex had not heard for 3 months but would recognize anywhere. Father, this is Nerra. I am alive and well. I am requesting safe passage to the home system. I am traveling on a civilian vessel and should arrive within 2 days. Joy exploded through Vex's chest like a sun going nova. She was alive. His daughter was alive. He wanted to laugh and cry and roar with happiness all at once. But then the transmission continued. Father, I must tell you something important. I am not traveling alone. I have a companion with me. His name is Ben Torres, and he is a human. He saved my life, and I owe him a debt that can never be repaid. I ask that you receive him with honor and respect. The joy in Vex's heart turned to ice. A human. His daughter was traveling with a human. What had this primitive creature done to her? How had it gained influence over her? More message coming through, sir, Officer Zara reported. I know this news will trouble you, but Ben is a good person. He risked everything to help me when I was lost and injured. Without him, I would surely be dead. Please, Father, do not let your prejudices cloud your judgment. Give me the chance to explain when I arrive. The transmission ended. The throne room fell silent except for the hum of the ship's engines. Vex stood frozen, his mind racing. His daughter was alive, and that was everything. But she was with a human. How had this happened? What had this Ben Torres done to earn her loyalty? Your Majesty, General Corks approached carefully. Your orders. Vex took a deep breath. His daughter was coming home. That was what mattered most. He could deal with the human problem when she arrived. Prepare an honor guard, he commanded. Princess Nerra returns home tomorrow. And prepare security teams as well. I want to know everything about this human before my daughter's ship docks. Yes, sir. And the human? What are your orders regarding him? Vex's eyes burned with suspicion and protective fury. No primitive creature would manipulate his daughter and expect to benefit from it. We shall see what this Ben Torres wants. But if he has harmed my daughter in any way, if he thinks to gain profit from her situation, he will learn what happens to those who threaten the royal family of the Crystalline Dominion. The king turned back to the window, watching the stars with new eyes. Tomorrow, Princess Nerra would be home. Tomorrow, he would have answers. And tomorrow, He would decide the fate of the human who had somehow earned his daughter's protection. The greatest military leader in the galaxy prepared to meet a species he had always dismissed as worthless. He had no idea that this meeting would change not just his opinion of humans, but the very future of his empire. His cargo hauler, the Lucky Strike, was 3 days behind schedule. The navigation computer had broken down near the Vega sector, and repairs had cost him most of his savings. The food recycler was making strange noises, and his last job had paid half of what was promised. Ben was starting to think he should have stayed on Earth and worked in the factories like his brother wanted. The distress beacon appeared on his scanners just as he was preparing to enter hyperspace. Standard protocol said he should report it to the nearest authority and continue on his way. But Ben had never been good at following protocol when people needed help. The escape pod was small and badly damaged. Burn marks covered its hull, and the power systems were failing. Ben docked with it carefully, not sure what he would find inside. When the airlock opened, Ben nearly fell backward in shock. The occupant was definitely not human. She was tall and thin, with crystalline skin that shifted between blue and green colors. Her clothing was clearly expensive, made from materials Ben had never seen before. She was unconscious and breathing in shallow gasps. Ben had seen aliens before at trading stations, but he had never been this close to one. Most aliens considered humans to be primitive and kept their distance. This one looked important, maybe even royal based on the elegant design of her clothes and the jeweled items scattered around the pod. "Okay, Ben," he said to himself. "You found her, now what do you do with her?" The alien woman was clearly sick. Her breathing was wrong, and her skin kept changing colors in patterns that looked dangerous. Ben carefully moved her to the Lucky Strike's small medical bay. His ship was designed for cargo, not passengers, but he had basic medical supplies for emergencies. The problem was that Ben knew nothing about alien biology. Human medicine might help her, or it might make things worse. He spent hours reading through his medical database, trying to find anything useful. The woman woke up on the second day. She tried to speak, but the words meant nothing to Ben. Her translator device was broken, probably damaged when her pod was hit. She seemed frustrated and frightened, gesturing at herself and speaking rapidly in her musical language. Ben held up his hands peacefully and spoke slowly. "Easy there. You are safe. I am Ben. I found your escape pod." The woman stared at him with large, intelligent eyes. She pointed at herself and said something that sounded like Nerra. Ben smiled and nodded. "Nerra. That is your name, right? I am Ben Torres." Over the next few days, Ben learned that Nerra was very sick. Whatever had happened to her ship, it had poisoned her somehow. She could barely eat, and her skin kept shifting to painful-looking colors. Ben tried everything in his medical kit, but nothing seemed to help much. Communication was hard without a working translator. Ben drew pictures and acted out simple concepts. Nerra was quick to understand and started drawing her own pictures in response. Slowly, they built a basic vocabulary of gestures and sounds. Ben learned that Nerra was important to her people. She drew pictures of ships and crowns and what looked like a palace. Ben understood that she was nobility, maybe even a princess. That made him nervous. Important aliens usually meant trouble for humans. But Nerra was not like the aliens Ben had met at trading stations. She was polite and grateful for his help. When she was feeling better, she insisted on helping with ship duties despite Ben's protests. She learned to operate the food recycler and even figured out how to repair a broken circuit panel. On the 5th day, pirates attacked. Ben was checking the engine systems when alarms started screaming throughout the ship. 3 ships had dropped out of hyperspace and were moving toward the Lucky Strike. Ben recognized the design immediately. Reaper pirates, some of the worst criminals in the galaxy. "Nerra," Ben called. "Get to the emergency shelter now." But Nerra was already on the bridge, studying the approaching ships. She said something urgent in her language and pointed at the pirates. "Yeah, I know they are bad," Ben said. "That is why you need to hide." The pirates sent a communication demanding that Ben surrender his cargo and any passengers. Ben looked at Nerra and made a decision that would change both their lives. "No chance," he told the pirates. "This ship is under human protection." What happened next amazed Nerra. Ben Torres, a simple cargo pilot with an old ship and basic weapons, fought 3 pirate vessels and won. He used tricks Nerra had never seen before. He flew through an asteroid field at dangerous speeds, used the asteroids as cover, and somehow managed to damage 2 pirate ships before they retreated. But Ben was wounded in the fight. Shrapnel from a damaged control panel had cut his arm badly. Nerra used her basic medical knowledge to help bandage the wound, working carefully with her 4-fingered hands. That night, as Ben recovered, Nerra drew more pictures. She showed Ben her surprise at his fighting skills. She had always been told that humans were weak and cowardly. But Ben had risked his life to protect her without hesitation. Ben just shrugged and said, "That is what you do for friends." Friends. Nerra stared at the word. In all her diplomatic training, she had never heard humans referred to as potential friends of other species. The second pirate attack came a week later. This time, 4 ships surrounded the Lucky Strike near a trading station. Ben could have run, but that would have left the station defenseless. Instead, he stayed and fought, even when his ship was outnumbered and outgunned. Nerra watched from the bridge as Ben coordinated with the station's security forces. He shared his tactical data freely and put his own ship at risk to protect civilian vessels. When a pirate ship targeted an unarmed transport, Ben flew the Lucky Strike directly into the line of fire. "Why do you do this?" Nerra asked in the simple phrases they had developed. "Why help strangers?" Ben looked surprised by the question. "Because it is right. Because they need help." Nerra had grown up in a universe where species helped their own kind and ignored everyone else. The idea that Ben would risk his life for people he had never met was completely foreign to her. The third attack was the worst. Pirates caught them in empty space, far from any help. This time, Ben was clearly outmatched. His ship was damaged, his weapons were failing, and the pirates were closing in for the final assault. Nerra made a decision that surprised them both. Using her knowledge of crystalline technology, she managed to jury-rig Ben's damaged weapon systems. Working together, they created a feedback pulse that disabled the lead pirate ship. "How did you know to do that?" Ben asked as they watched the pirates retreat. Nerra drew a picture of herself studying at what looked like a university. Ben realized that this alien princess was also a trained engineer. "You have been holding out on me," Ben said with a grin. As the weeks passed, Ben and Nerra developed their own unique way of communicating. Part gestures, part drawings, part of the words they taught each other. They learned about each other's cultures and backgrounds. Ben learned that Nerra was indeed a princess, heir to a vast interstellar empire. She was brilliant and kind, trained in diplomacy and engineering. She had been on a peace mission when her ship was attacked. Nerra learned that Ben was an independent trader, one of thousands of humans trying to make a living in space. He had no royal blood, no advanced technology, no powerful allies. But he had something her people seemed to lack, a willingness to help others without expecting reward. When pirates attacked the civilian transport they were escorting, Ben spent his own money to buy medical supplies for the wounded. When they encountered refugees fleeing a war zone, Ben shared his food rations even though it meant he would be hungry. "Why?" Nerra asked each time. "Why do you give so much to strangers?" "Because they need it more than I do," Ben always answered. Nerra began to understand that human primitiveness was not about technology or military power. Her people had focused so much on building stronger ships and better weapons that they had forgotten how to simply care about each other. As they neared the edge of crystalline space, Nerra knew she had to make a choice. She could ask Ben to drop her at the nearest outpost and continue with his cargo runs. Or she could bring him home and try to explain to her father why this human was worth knowing. Looking at Ben as he carefully piloted his battered ship toward her homeworld, Nerra made her decision. This brave, generous man had saved her life and taught her things no royal academy ever could. Her father needed to meet him. She just hoped King Vex would be willing to listen. King Vex stood in the royal docking bay, surrounded by his most trusted guards. Admiral Thane commanded a full security detail, and medical teams waited nearby. The king's crystalline skin flickered between nervous blue and angry red as he watched the approaching vessel. The Lucky Strike was nothing like the ships in his royal fleet. It was old, patched with mismatched hull plates, and clearly designed for cargo rather than diplomacy. Vex could hardly believe his daughter had spent months aboard such a primitive vessel. "Your Majesty," Admiral Thane spoke quietly. "Our scans show 2 life forms aboard. The princess appears to be in good health. And the human? Also healthy, sir. No weapons detected, though his ship has basic defensive systems." The Lucky Strike docked with barely a sound. Vex watched the airlock cycle through its sequence, his 4 hands clenched into fists. After 3 months of fear and searching, his daughter was finally home. But she was bringing a human with her, and Vex could not understand why. The airlock opened. Princess Nerra stepped through first, and Vex felt his heart nearly stop with relief. She looked well. Thin perhaps, but strong and healthy. Her crystalline skin glowed with the warm gold color that meant contentment. Behind her came the human. Ben Torres was smaller than Vex had expected. Most humans were short by crystalline standards, but this one seemed almost fragile. His clothes were simple work gear, clean but clearly old. He carried himself with quiet dignity, but his eyes showed the wariness of someone who expected trouble. "Father," Nerra said, rushing forward. Vex embraced his daughter with all 4 arms, holding her close and feeling the tension of 3 months finally leave his body. She was real. She was safe. She was home. "My dear child," he whispered. "I feared I had lost you forever." "I am sorry for the worry I caused," Nerra replied. "But I had to return this way. You need to meet Ben." Vex released his daughter and turned his attention to the human. Ben Torres stood quietly beside the airlock, clearly uncomfortable but not cowering. Most humans in the presence of crystalline royalty either groveled or acted aggressively. This one simply waited with patient respect. "So," Vex said, his voice echoing through the docking bay. "You are the human who claims to have saved my daughter." "I helped her when she needed it," Ben replied simply. "Anyone would have done the same." Vex's eyes narrowed. The human's translator was working, but his words seemed wrong somehow. Too humble. Too casual. What was his real purpose here? "Father," Nerra stepped between them. "Ben did far more than help me. He saved my life repeatedly. He fought pirates to protect me. He shared his food when I was sick and gave up his own comfort to make sure I was safe. And what does he want in return?" Vex asked, still staring at Ben. "Nothing," Nerra said. "That is what I have been trying to tell you. He asks for nothing." Vex did not believe it. In his experience, every being in the galaxy wanted something. Power, money, status, revenge. No one acted without expecting benefit. "Human," Vex addressed Ben directly. "Speak honestly. What do you gain from helping my daughter? What reward do you seek?" Ben looked confused by the question. "Reward? I do not understand. Princess Nerra needed help. I was able to provide it. There does not need to be anything more than that." The answer irritated Vex. This human was either lying or too simple to understand galactic politics. "Admiral Thane," Vex commanded. "Show me the security recordings from the human's vessel." "Father, that is not necessary," Nerra protested. "It is completely necessary. I will know exactly what happened during your absence." Ben stepped forward. Your Majesty, you are welcome to review any recordings from my ship. I have nothing to hide. Admiral Thane's technical team quickly accessed the Lucky Strike security system. Within minutes, holographic displays showed the interior of Ben's ship over the past 3 months. Vex watched carefully, expecting to see evidence of manipulation or abuse. Instead, he saw something that confused him completely. The recordings showed Ben caring for Nerra when she was sick. Not as a prisoner or hostage, but as a patient. Ben gave her his own food when the ship's supplies ran low. He worked tirelessly to repair her damaged translator. When she was too weak to stand, he helped her move around the ship without ever taking advantage of her vulnerability. Vex watched Ben fight the first pirate attack. The human could have surrendered immediately. Most traders would have handed over their cargo and passengers to save themselves. Instead, Ben chose to fight against impossible odds rather than let harm come to Nerra. He could have given me to the pirates at any time, Nerra said, watching the recordings with her father. They would have paid well for a crystalline princess. Instead, he risked his life to protect me. The second battle was even more revealing. Ben coordinated with station security to protect civilian vessels, even when it put his own ship in danger. When an unarmed transport was threatened, he flew directly into the line of fire to shield it from enemy weapons. Why does he protect strangers? Vex asked, genuinely puzzled. Because he believes it is right, Nerra answered. Father, I have learned something important during these months. We judge humans by their technology and military power, but we ignore their greatest strength. Which is what? Their capacity for compassion. Their willingness to help others without expecting reward. Their ability to see beyond species and politics to simple right and wrong. Vex watched the third battle, seeing Ben and Nerra work together to defeat the pirates. He saw how Ben trusted his daughter completely, relying on her expertise despite her alien nature. He saw how Nerra responded to that trust, fighting alongside Ben as an equal partner. But what impressed Vex most was what happened after the battles. Ben used his own money to buy medical supplies for wounded strangers. He shared food with refugees. He spent hours helping repair damaged civilian ships, asking nothing in return. This cannot be normal human behavior, Vex said. But it is, Nerra replied. I have learned that many humans act this way. They help each other constantly. They form communities based on mutual support rather than dominance. They value cooperation over conquest. Admiral Thane approached with a data pad. Your Majesty, we have completed background checks on Ben Torres. No criminal record. No outstanding debts or legal troubles. He owns his ship outright and has a reputation among traders as honest and reliable. References from previous clients describe him as helpful and trustworthy, the Admiral continued. Several trading stations have records of him providing emergency assistance to ships in distress. He has never filed insurance claims for such assistance or requested compensation. Vex stared at the data, trying to understand it. In the Crystalline Dominion, people helped others because of duty, law, or expectation of reward. The idea of helping strangers simply because it was right seemed impossible. Ben Torres, Vex addressed the human directly. Answer me honestly. Why do you act this way? What drives you to help others at your own expense? Ben thought for a moment before answering. Your Majesty, on Earth we have a saying, we are stronger together than apart. When I help someone, I make the galaxy a little bit safer and kinder for everyone. Maybe someday when I need help, someone will be there for me. But even if not, I sleep better knowing I did the right thing. You expect no reward for saving my daughter? I gained something valuable, Ben said. I gained a friend. Princess Nerra is intelligent, brave, and kind. Knowing her has enriched my life in ways that no payment could match. Vex looked at his daughter and saw the truth in her glowing skin patterns. She was not grateful because Ben had saved her. She was happy because she had found genuine friendship with someone she respected. For the first time, Vex began to understand that he had been wrong about humans. He had judged them by their technology and military power, never considering that strength could take other forms. Human, Vex said slowly. Ben Torres. You have done something I thought impossible. You have changed my daughter for the better, and you have challenged everything I believed about your species. Your Majesty, I just did what anyone should do. But not everyone would. That is what makes it remarkable. Vex made a decision that would reshape the galaxy. I offer you not gold or jewels, but something more valuable. I offer you an alliance between your people and mine. Ben looked stunned. Sir, I cannot speak for all humans. I am just a trader. But you represent the best of what humanity can be. Your example has taught me that the crystalline dominion has grown too focused on power and too distant from compassion. We need to learn from humans how to be better neighbors to the galaxy. Princess Nerra stepped forward, glowing with joy. Father, this could change everything. Imagine what our peoples could accomplish working together. Vex nodded. His empire had the technology and resources to help struggling colonies and defend against pirates. Humans had the heart and wisdom to know how that help should be used. Ben Torres, King Vex said formally. Will you serve as the first human ambassador to the Crystalline Dominion? Will you help our peoples learn to understand each other? Ben looked at Princess Nerra, who smiled encouragingly. Then he looked back at the most powerful ruler in 12 star systems. Your Majesty, I would be honored to serve in any way that promotes peace and friendship between our peoples. As they walked toward the royal palace, Vex reflected on how much had changed in a single day. He had expected to rescue his daughter from a primitive human. Instead, he had discovered that humans possessed something his advanced civilization had lost, the simple wisdom of treating others with kindness and respect. The alliance between humans and crystallines would grow to become the strongest partnership in galactic history. It would bring peace to war-torn systems, prosperity to struggling colonies, and hope to species that had forgotten how to trust each other. And it all began because one human trader chose to help a stranger in need.